Am I audible? So this is probably the one subject that is almost every developing country specific. Uh, Most cities in the world today are seeing a population explosion. Uh, by the benchmark of United Nations, only 6% of the cities in the world saw population decline. 15% saw population rise of less than 1%. All the others saw meaningful gain in population. So what happens when this phase really begins? There are 5 phases in the life cycle of a city. It's changing at this point, but historically, 5 phases have taken place in the life cycle of a city from its beginning to what is its fading out journey. The first one is when a city gets an anchor industry. Every city, in a way, has one moat, one industry that gives it prominence. Mumbai has finance, Bangalore has technology, and there are 1 or 2 companies that bring people to work over there. That sets in a chain of motion where population starts to come in. And real estate at its core is not location, 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 but migration, migration, migration. So the first step in this entire play is about migration. The first step is an anchor industry coming in, getting enough people to start working over there. After that, the network effect comes into play. 2 or 3 big companies are there, so all the others have to come in to support that ecosystem. That brings in the next level of migration, which is substantially higher. And most cities, after they cross this threshold of big population rise, the cities aren't well equipped to handle it. There are people who will tell you that you should plan cities well in advance. In most cases, it doesn't work. Because making a plan is very simple. You do it on a master plan, you cut some plots, assign some reservations for particular reasons, from a park to a school to offices to homes. But if you keep things so well coordinated, you don't allow a city to really flourish. Example of that is probably something like a Chandigarh. Well planned, but you haven't seen anything come out of that. Compared to that, you see all the other cities of India today, they are bustling, they are vibrant, they are chaotic, because the city can't handle the population in the extent that it needs to. Now, there are various reasons why it can't. I'll come to that in the later part of the discussion. But what are the 3 or 4 big changes that happen once a city can't handle the population that is there in the city? The first big hit is all across the infrastructure and the supporting infrastructure. Now, infrastructure is a very wide word. Most people, when you say the word infrastructure, they talk about, they mean in a way crowded trains or congested roads. But besides that also, there is a big change in the type of damage that happens when a city can't equip itself to handle infrastructure, especially when it comes to social infrastructure. Things like schools, hospitals. Invariably, they become the first casualty because that has not been built up well in advance. Besides infrastructure, the other place where the impact really happens is housing. All the other cities will have issues in infrastructure. The big play in that is housing. Okay? Housing shortages are common. Most cities in the world today are grappling with housing shortages, both developing countries as well as developed markets. So why does this happen? One is that builders can't build homes well in advance. Homes are sold under construction. There's nobody who's going to construct a whole building and keep it idle. So you start building when you anticipate demand or when there is already existing demand. Because of that, there are 2 things that play out in the housing market. First, slums. The shortage drives many poor people who come to the city in search of jobs into the only place that is allowed. Slums are a universal reality for every country that is growing, industrializing. We think of slums today in cities like Mumbai, Pune, but even in places like New York, in the 1900s, early 1900s, almost two-thirds of the city population lived in slums or in slum-like conditions. So it's not a phenomenon that is unique only to India. It's there even in today also in places like Mexico, South Africa. The other part of housing shortage is in terms of home prices. Slums may be illegal homes to some extent at a point of time, but there's a big shortage of legal homes that also plays out. And what does this imbalance really cause? You have a lot of demand for legal homes, but the supply is so little. It pushes home prices high, 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 high. And it creates what is often the great paradox in Indian cities and global cities. Your cost of living rises, but your quality of living goes down. That's why when you see in social media or in news channels that why are home prices in Mumbai so high? Why are home prices in Gurgaon so high? This is in a way a reality across most developing cities. And it's because of one fundamental factor, population, and the inability of a city to rise to the occasion to ensure that that population gets well fed. Within housing, there are two types. One is the legal housing part, which could be like a standalone building that most people in this auditorium would be staying in. Besides that, the next upward curve is a preference where while you are paying more money and you're not getting the quality of life, you search for an alternative. And that alternative is not the government. It's a builder. And the builder, in a way, becomes the municipal corporation for this audience. They have the money, they're willing to pay it, but they're not willing to get heavily compromised on their life. So just when they go to this builder municipal corporation who provides them this gated community where you have the gardens, the footpaths, your cycling tracks, your amenities, which outside the gated community don't exist, you land up paying a higher price. So at one end, you are first paying high prices for a home because there's legal homes in shortage, and then you're paying a greater price for getting homes that provide you the quality of life that you are seeking. And once that benchmark gets set of a price, housing, like most other industries, works on what is the base effect. If a particular location has this price, and it's a high price, every surrounding location to that starts adjusting its price accordingly. So in Gurgaon, you'll have Golf Course Road. In Mumbai, you'll have Bandra. In Pune, you'll have Koregaon Park. In Bangalore, you'll have Lavelle Road. All of them, in a way, set the benchmark price for the rest of the city, where every location adjusts its price by discounting itself to what is considered the most expensive location. After this is done, you see a phase where real estate has become expensive for everyone because people are willing to compromise. Imagine a situation if quality of life kept suffering, cost of living kept rising, and people just stopped migrating. It probably would adjust the market, but it doesn't work that way because after a point, jobs are there in few select cities, and people want to be in that vibrant environment. So they compromise. They make the adjustment, small home, inferior address, with that dream that I'll be able to upgrade at some point in the near future or medium-term future. For most of them, unfortunately, it doesn't happen. So that journey, in a way, that dream of having a convenient, comfortable life in cities remains only a dream. But what this habit of compromise does is that it makes your cost of living high for every function in the city. Because your home price is high or your real estate price is high, your cost of housing, your school, your hospital, your garden, every amenity becomes expensive. Cities then become only a function where they are catering to the rich and richer, which is where the decline of a city starts to begin. Now, at this point, Mumbai is probably the best example of it, where while it's the commercial capital, it does many things right, has a stock market, Bollywood, but there are not too many new jobs being created because companies will go where employees after a certain scale want to be. And if a vast number of entry-level volume employees don't want to be in the city or find it unaffordable, you start looking elsewhere. So, what's the option once these things happen? Either industries come up in cities in different locations or adjacent to the main city. And that, in a way, begins the entire, is the beginning of the end of this life cycle for cities. I'll tell you what I mean by that. Once it's so expensive to be in a Mumbai or a Gurgaon or a Bangalore, people start to think that let me migrate outside or let me migrate to an adjacent location where affordability is there. The second consequence of this is that because the situation is so expensive in the main city, the people who live there, they do something very natural, but something which most people don't really anticipate sitting outside. They start to have lesser children. There's a reason why the fertility rate in the most expensive cities or countries is substantially lower than the cities that don't have that issue. Not just in India, globally as well. The beginning of the end starts with that scenario. So you have a double whammy in a sense for cities where the core population either starts to migrate from the main city to an adjacent city, while the people who are already there, they choose to have lesser and lesser children. This causes the last leg of the entire cycle that takes place, which is the rate of population growth declines. So if you see, it started because of migration pushing up the population in the city. That made things for the city expensive. Quality of life started suffering. After it started suffering, an imbalance got created, which got adjusted in this manner. You had in between the entire interplay of slums, legal housing, gated communities. All of them are sub factors in this. So in a way, opportunity drove population growth and made the city, while cost brought the population decline and led to the city fading out. That, in a way, is the entire cycle of what makes cities and what eventually kills them. Historically, it's very tough to kill a city because the network effect is so strong. Very few cities have actually faded out in quick period. Possibly the shortest is Detroit in the US, where there was a auto hub and then it quickly faded out after a series of events, both socially as well as at the competitive level from Japanese automakers, made that entire industry of US suffer. Today, the population of Detroit is 60% lower than its peak. With that in mind, the key challenge for each city is how long can you be at that sustenance level where you don't go so expensive that your decline begins. Pune today is actually the one city besides Ahmedabad which fits that sweet spot. It's vibrant, um, it's chaotic like most other cities, but it also has affordability to a large extent geared in. It's not expensive like a Mumbai or a Gurgaon, so any industry that wants to have a presence in India or this region, Pune, Ahmedabad, to a limited extent now, Bangalore, they can attract that much opportunity. So, at its core, today, the future does not lie in our prime cities. The decline of cities like Mumbai began not today, more than a decade ago. The question is, can cities reinvent themselves? Can they ensure that the duration lasts longer? In my view, it's very difficult because today infrastructure as well as technology has become such that cities can decline fast and faster than they have ever before. That's all from me. Any questions that are there? I think I've got my 12 minutes covered in this or no?